Located in Elwell, Michigan, Monroe Family Organics is a thriving, young, community-supported agricultural farm that has recently teamed up with the East Lansing Food Co-op to provide the Lansing area with fresh, locally produced food. True to form, each day on the farm presents its own set of unique challenges and adventures. Join me as I spend the morning with Fred and company, watching as they begin work on a new hoop house, experiment with using a potato digger for the first time, and hear Fred's story of how he got started and why he chose to become a farmer.
I saw on your website that you've been involved with this for, what, 10 years?
Yeah. Yep, I started going to farmers markets on my own when I was 16. And I did that for a couple of years. Just kind of a smaller part-time thing. I had like a quarter-acre garden probably. And then I went to MSU after that and did my internship at Angelic Organics, and then also worked at a student organic farm too. The reason we do the drip line is because we can like water specifically where we want it, and also like instead of overhead where the water kind of pounds the ground down, you tend to get a lot of weed seeds after that. This kind of leaves the ground a little bit more loose, and you don't get that kind of weed germination that you do otherwise. Because like these two beds, you'll see little pockets of weeds here and there, but these haven't been hand weeded at all. This has just been seeded and watered, and that's about it at this point. So
These rows are so clean.
yeah, it is. It is amazing, but it really is. You can see the soil is still really loose on top, and leaving it loose like that, you get a little bit less germination from the lettuce, but it really helps out with the weeds. If you don't pack that soil, you don't get near the weed germination. It's rewarding, and I enjoy being out here. It is like this time of year we basically work all the time, and there are a lot of hard days and there's some hard times with the weather too, but I know I'm always excited for every season, and always excited where the farm, where it can go next and what we can grow and all that stuff. So I would never do anything else. It takes many hours to kind of decide what we're going to grow, because it's not just, there's a lot of neat things to grow, and I do pick some neat stuff out just because it is different. But at the end of the day, I have to try to make things work financially too. So that kind of goes into the mix as far as decisions on things.
Do your CSA customers ever say, "Oh, hey, can you grow this next year?" Or?
They do, and we take surveys at the end of the year to see what people liked and what they didn't. And based on the surveys, we respond to what people want. They wanted us to offer eggs, so we did start the eggs, and they wanted us to offer fruit. So we started renting a blueberry patch that was basically out of production. We started doing that this year. And we also planted strawberries that we'll have next spring. We planted a fairly decent sized patch of those. And then they asked for different things, like they wanted more broccoli, they wanted more potatoes, they wanted a little bit less of beets. So we tried to make that mix, more to what we saw in the surveys. So yeah, we take those seriously and respond to it. This is our regular mix of what we sell as far as what we call salad mix. It's just 4 kinds of lettuce. There's 2 different heirlooms, the green and the red romaine. And then we have 2 newer varieties, which is this red leaf lettuce, and then the red oak is a little bit newer variety. We're always looking for varieties that have, you know, good flavor, but also have like a good disease resistance and things like that. And so, because organically we can't really, there's only so many options we have to control disease, so the main thing is just preventing it from ever being there in the first place. So we do tend to try to choose varieties that are disease resistant. And there was, like in this row over here, this green one right there, is something we're trialing. And we're trying to see if, because we have had a few disease issues on the more heirloom one, and so we're trying to see if there's more of an advantage of this new improved variety that has resistance to downy mildew and some other things. So we experiment around a little bit too. Malcolm works part-time, and then Joe works for us full-time, and Dennis over there works part-time. In the summer, my brother was working for us full-time. Now he's back in school because of Spring Arbor. And we had a couple other students from Elwell College who helped us part-time too. So there was a lot of part-time people throughout the season, and a couple full-time. And Malcolm actually worked for us full-time last year. It's kind of an internship. Just kind of learned about vegetables and stuff.
Why farming? Why egg?
Well, I think it's really the new industry that's really starting to pick up. I believe it's kind of been pushed to the side for a long time, and people are wanting to get more back to the earth and really want to know where their food comes from. So I think it's a kind of an industry that has opportunity now. So I don't think it had that just a few years ago. So, and I just enjoy it. So.
Does it seem like there's more interest?
Yeah, I think there is more interest. There's definitely a lot of interest, and we still have to figure out, like, labor-wise, you know, what direction we go with the farm.
How many acres do you have here?
We have 7 in production right now, but then we can extend further in the back, so we have like 14 available. And I think next year our concentration is not necessarily going to be expand acreage, it's just going to be try to get more yield from what we do have, because we've kind of spread out more from the first year, increasing a couple acres, but I think we're at the point now where we can kind of consolidate our efforts a little bit, try to bump up our yield from what we do have before we expand and, you know, into more ground and have people walking further and other things.
Quality over quantity?
Yes, definitely. Because there were some plantings this year and last year where we learned where we had some weaknesses, and if we improve those or have certain things that we don't plant, or certain times of the year we don't plant things, I think we can, you know, get more from what we have. So.
How many of these have you put up in the past?
I helped with one of them, but I did. Fred's done 8 or so, I think he said, and I've only done the one, and now this one, and then the second one. So
It's a process.
it is.
I've only helped to put up one. We had 6 guys there, and
All right, we're good.
10 hours we didn't get it done.
No, it takes a good bit of work. So we had this side half hammered in, but I ran the tape to double check the length, and we were 10 inches off. We measured from the end, that was 10 inches off, so we had to reset all the poles. Thankfully this is just like the preset, so they're only in like 6-8 inches. Poles, 19. We reset 2 of those. We've done almost 30 poles already. All right.
So everybody seems to have a different name for these. Do you call them hoop houses, high tunnels?
Yeah, it depends on the day.
Yes.
I've noticed that I call them, usually hoop houses I call them, but Fred will call them cold frames or hoop houses or the greenhouse or...
Usually on the internet they call them hoop houses.
Yeah.
That seems to be the
Greenhouses usually have a little more controlled climate. On the whole, I guess, I don't know. When I think greenhouse, I think nursery. All right.
Philosopher Martin Heidegger spoke at great length about the difference between building and dwelling, ranging from their organic approach to growing veggies to the manner in which they raise their pigs. Everything about the Monroe farm echoes this philosophy. In stark contrast to the corporate husbandry practices that are contributing to the erosion of our food systems, the animals on the Monroe farm are allowed to roam free in a natural setting. I think it's fair to say that during my short visit, I fell in love with these happy little pigs.
There's a person in Vesterberg that actually bought the third house down there from, and he lent me his potato digger, so we'll try that out.
So what is this?
This is a potato digger. We're gonna try to dig some potatoes. But this is a new piece of equipment to the farm, and so we're gonna have to tweak it as we go.
Adam brought it over.
All right.
So we'll see. You actually fixed it up before we brought it over too. You put new bolts in it and everything.
Yeah, I think it should run. I bet you greased everything too.
I think he did too.
Your dad or?
No.
No, Adam.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. A working piece of equipment. Wow. That's radical, man.
New for the farm.
That's radical.
Let's not get our hopes up too high.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
That's a weird. I've never seen that before.
I'm trying to think where we can even get an adapter, but
Let's go run that twine real quick, Dennis.
Are you missing some sort of a pin?
Yeah, apparently most tractors have a pin that is on a spring that goes actually up here. And it rests in the groove that's in this PTO thing, but this one has something that goes straight through, which apparently I've never seen that before.
that shaft doesn't have one, does it? I never looked for it because we never used one like this. Can we pull it back?
See, what is this? 1 inch? Or, you know what? That looks like there's a lot of play in there, though.
Was it the rototiller? I don't remember. I should have a thicker one. Want to go try it?
Yeah, let's look at that, because this, even though this is like, what, 1 inch maybe, there's a lot of play in it. It looks like it could fit another size higher.
Alright. Yeah, a lot of testing going on in areas that we've already messed working a lot better once
Yeah, it does do a lot better.
These pumps that keep burying them
Yeah.
right after they fall off.
Probably if I'd harvest them a little bit a couple weeks earlier. I don't know if the soil. Now my faith in humanity has grown over the last year as people have actually eaten kale and wanted and like desired kale. Because we eat it all the time. We have for several years now, like as a staple thing.
Yeah.
And last year people were like, whoa, I don't know about this kale. But this year, people really looked for it. And we ran into one lady yesterday who was at the hospital, and she said, well, I'm addicted to kale after this season. I'm like, oh, that's a good thing. We have a big breakfast every morning. So that's usually a breakfast item, and then we have our own eggs, of course, and we usually have either sweet potato, beets, or carrots fried in some way too.
How did you get your hands on this land?
You know, my parents were friends with Frisbee's, Malcolm's family there. And me and my wife lived in Ohio. We'd intended to move back at some point, but we couldn't like start a farm on our own financially or anything. And so we were kind of looking though, because we were thinking about having kids, and my job back there was kind of going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So we started, you know, kind of thinking, what we thought about, we probably still can't, you know, do anything. And we ended up running into them at, I think it was my brother's open house, and they said, well, we have some land that you could use because we're not really using it. I thought, oh, great. And they said, well, we could use some of our equipment too. I thought, that's that's what I want to hear, because that's one of the main costs. And so we actually used some of their equipment too. They let us rent this land. It was all grassland before, and not been farmed for like 18 years.
Yeah.
And Tim, Malcolm's dad, I asked that it like be tiled because it was really wet like most of the year.
Yeah.
So they actually tiled it before I came and got it all done. And so now it dries off really nice. But what I had was like 50 years worth of, you know, grassland growth.
Yeah.
So it was hard to get the weeds down, but once we did, the soil was really nice. And now the soil dries off even before like the high grounds, because we have the tile and everything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we started, and we left our jobs in Ohio, our good jobs, you know, well-paying jobs, and then came here, started, and built from there. So
living the dream.
Exactly.
Co-op style. Co-op style. ELFCO is co-op style. Co-op that is local and community owned. Respecting fair trade and how your food is grown. When it comes to organic, we're your one-stop shop. Our list of priorities puts people at the top. Co-op style. Co-op style. Co-op that is local and community owned. When you come to visit, you should feel at home. To become an owner, it only takes one share. Bringing people together to show that we care. ELFCO is co-op style. Friendly people, local products, fresh food, organic, gluten-free, fair trade, community owned. Hey, local shadow. Hey, cowabunga.
Fresh food. Fresh food. Fresh food.